Guess who got isopropyl alcohol? Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is CF Claire and I am writing a fae, dragon, paranormal fantasy romance. We are pretty far along in the outlining process because I really outline stuff. In the last vlog, I finished the second draft of a scene level, really detailed outline of the whole book. Now I'm stepping back a little bit and I'm going to answer a few of the world building questions that I need to know. And I'm going to kind of organize my thoughts and plans for the future because this is the first book in a interconnected standalone romance series. And the idea is that there's this very large universe that I'm creating right now. And within that same world, I'm going to have mini series to follow different friend groups and different locations in the world and things like that. So this first series is 5 books, but I also have a couple other ideas for what the other next little series are going to be within that larger universe. There are some names, location names that I desperately need. I have it written down. I don't know why I need to pretend I can remember everything. Yeah, I need a map. This is a very large universe, so I don't need the nitty gritty kind of map, but what I need is the large, where are all of these planets? Because it's a very fantasy flavored sci-fi. So there's no technology, there's no spaceships, but there are literal sail ships sailing through space. There are lots of magical technology, things like that. It's very fun, but I need to know there's 2 large hemispheres and I need to know the geopolitical ness of each side and like some rather world building stuff. I need to make sure. So, what I need to do is organize the other ideas that I have for stories so that as I'm coming up with the other stuff, I'm not completely killing the story ideas that I have. I need to create the world to support this stuff. So, that's kind of like what I have in mind right now. I just started, actually, I'm most of the way through organizing those ideas today, October 6th. So this is my plan for the week. Hopefully it will happen this week. We don't know. There's a bunch of side characters and sort of flavor characters that I want to make sure that I add, even if they're just in passing for the ambiance, for the whatever of it all, because I know the main storyline and I know that there's some good possibilities for where to insert fun flavor. And then I also need to really figure out more what I want for dragon shifter culture and fae culture in this universe, because in this first book, that's the 2 main characters are a dragon and a fae, and a lot of their backstory I have good ideas about, and a lot of stuff that's going to make it easier to dig into that and support it. But yeah, I need to figure out what I want that stuff to look like. So it's all very fun. It's the kind of thing that's very hard to tell how long it's actually going to take to do it, because it really depends on the day and how things are flowing creatively and everything. I had thought, for instance, that organizing all the premises I had would take a while, but I actually did most of it in 30 minutes, so who knows. So what I want to do is start doing a little bit of walking. This is a standing desk. It's really hard to get good angles in this room, by the way, but this is a standing desk. I'm on top of a treadmill that is turned off, and I've been trying to walk 2 miles every day since I got this treadmill. That is fun. It is nice to move your body, coming from being a stay-home mom of young kids for many years who did not want to go walking anywhere. So we're going to check out our isopropyl alcohol and see if that's going to actually clean the whiteboard better than WD-40 did. And we're going to use that to sort of map out some ideas of what we want this galaxy to look like. And we're also going to finish up those premises for other books. So that's the goal for the morning, at least. Let's get into that. We finished writing out those premises. There was actually 2 more to add. So this last one that I just added in is the 3rd book in this first series I'm working on. I already had a general idea of some things about it, but as I was typing that out, I got the events of the first quarter of the book and then a general idea of what else happens. So that's feeling really fun. I've got a really solid idea of all 5 books in this first series now. Events that I want to happen and a general idea of how the story plays out and the dynamic between the characters. So the next thing we're going to work on is looking at the whiteboard and how we can generally get an idea of what this layout looks like, because there's a lot of space travel. That's a large part. These are like adventure stories. It's quite fun. They're romances. Absolutely 100%, first of all, romances. But they're also adventuring stories. There's a lot of travel and learning things about this world. It is super fun, but we need to know what the world looks like. And also, I want lemon pound cake. So I don't know if I have the things I need to make lemon pound cake, but we're gonna find out. We're printing out a recipe for lemon pound cake. We have what we need. We just have to soften the butter. So that's going. It's 11 o'clock right now. I need to break and do lunch. I actually haven't done breakfast. I usually don't. I usually just don't feel like eating until lunch. We're going to eat outside and switch things up while I eat lunch. I'm going to listen to the rest of the first Sarah Paine lecture. She's a Naval War College professor. She's got a series of lectures that she gave that are on YouTube. I'll link in the description. I love them. I've already listened to them just like for pleasure. And now I'm listening through it. I'm taking my notes on things that I'm going to use for world building and creating histories for this large world and alliances and dynamics and the political sphere of what's going on in this world, because that's going to play into the books and what's happening and why. I have probably 30 minutes left of that first lecture to take notes on. So we'll do that outside and have a great time. Oh, I wanted to mention, because something happened over the weekend, I found another comp title for my series, which is incredible because it's been very difficult to find comp titles for this series. So, of course, the one that I just use is Cressley Cole's Immortals After Dark, and that is the closest comparison. But Allie Hazelwood has a novella, Hot for Slayer, which is a fun name. Basically, the premise is that it's a vampire and their nemesis vampire hunter, who they've been, going at it for hundreds of years. He gets amnesia. He doesn't know who he is. And then basically she gets this opportunity to take care of him and blah, 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 blah. It's super cute. It's really quick to read. And the tone of it is the same. It's a fun, cute, romantic tone and really fun premise. So anyways, that's another comp for my series. Hooray! So love that. Love that for us. So things are starting to come together. That's good. If you hadn't seen the other video where I talk about how the thing about this is it's like highly space coded magic. There's two galaxies separated by this rift, magical rift in space. So on one side, it's very Wild West. This is the Wild West side where there's not very many good sized planets. It's a lot of asteroids, lots of moons. And then on the other side of the rift, there are these very large planets that are like the home worlds for major fantasy races. There's the dragon home world, there's the fae home world. But on this side, it's all Wild West. The idea is that there are territory divisions, so that there are at the moment 7 warlords of these territories in space, and there's an unclaimed section at the moment, this frontier land. And throughout the course of the first series in this world, there will be an 8th warlord. Ooh. So I'm kind of getting an idea of how can the world be? The first book takes place on the Goblin homeworld on this Wild West side of the rift. There's the rift here. Things are going to happen. The rift is going to open for the first time in like a super long time as part of the plot events. So we need to know where that is. This is the sun in this galaxy. And then part of the big thing about this series is that they travel. So there's a lot of travel. It's an adventure style sort of book. So what I wanted is to mimic the ocean, but in space. I want to have space whales and space fish, but I wanted to mimic currents. So there's solar wind. I think solar wind is real. I'm not a science person. I'm not trying to be scientifically accurate. Let's first and foremost say that. But I love the idea that there's solar wind, that goes in a certain direction, and that's essentially the currents, the ship highway, as it were. And there are ways that you can get off of that current and be in these space worthy rafts, essentially, where you travel much, much slower in a much, much smaller ship off of these currents. But the territories and the alliances and the warlords and all this stuff, all of this is going to depend on the topography of what's going on with these solar winds. So I'm kind of getting an idea of how I want that to be to get a sense of the history and what's going on. And it's extremely fun. I know this looks a little bit crazy. Once I get a better idea of what I want to do, I'm going to cool it with the whiteboard and move over and do, I don't know, like Canva map of it or something, because I would love to have just a printed page where it's like blah blah blah, here's all this stuff. Once I have this figured out, I'm going to switch over and do the other side of the galaxy, which I think is going to be a lot simpler because there's a limited amount of very large planets, and we're going to have a lot more simplistic solar wind patterns and stuff. So we'll see. It's hopefully easier. It's quite fun though. I haven't been doing that. I've actually been editing the last vlog instead. So I'm almost done with that. That'll be good to upload. I can't go back to the whiteboard. I have to start now on Canva. But I'm also extremely unmotivated. I have 1 hour left before I should get in the car and go wait to pick up my kids. So I'm trying to motivate myself, and I'm not going to make myself just focus on doing this map. Instead, I'm going to pull up a YouTube video. I'm going to see if anyone I follow has a new video that I can watch while I'm doing this. And if they don't, then I'm going to do one of the other things on my Kanban board, which is find a Celtic myth and listen to it. I want to listen to a couple different Celtic myths for this Fae aspect I'm working on, just kind of get in on that a bit more. I love mythology on one hand, and on the other hand, I've done absolutely no work to learn mythology or immerse myself in it in any way. And I want that to change. My husband is going really hard on this Arthurian myth kind of stuff this year, and it all just sounds rad, and I just haven't done anything about it. I just got back from dropping off the kids at school. It's 9:10 and we're about to jump into some work. Yesterday went really well. I printed out as far as I got with my Canva map. We've got a baseline to work off of. By the end of today, what I'd really like to have is a clear picture of the solar wind currents to get an idea of how travel works. I want to know distance between different major locations, any major features, creatures that live in the area. There are 8 different sectors. I want to see if I can brainstorm names for each of the sectors, and I definitely want different vibes in each sector. I'm kind of loving the idea that each sector has its own sort of time period that it follows. There's a certain part that I want to be very actually Wild West and Western America cowboy era, minus the negative parts. More the aesthetic. I want another sector that's going to be kind of disco, really fun. So anyways, that sort of vibe, differentiating really, really different vibes and stuff for each of these sectors. Get an idea for who the other warlords are, just very broad strokes, because some warlords I already have ideas of how I want them to be because of what I want happening in the other books in this first miniseries. And some of them I don't really need to know, but because this is a research crew and they've been all around, they have knowledge of certain things, and I just want to have that knowledge as the author, even if that doesn't come across in this first book necessarily. Traveling around in this area has been a huge part of both of the main characters' lives. So I just need to know what kind of experiences they would have. And because I want there to be this tournament happening that's this big deal at the beginning of this first book, I want to have an idea of who would go to that and what does that mean, because travel is very particular in this world. So, anyways, we're focusing on that and we're going to kind of dig into it and have a great time. One thing led to another, and I accidentally brainstormed a lot of third book in this series. So, oops, that's obviously fine. But I didn't make any more progress with the map. And the map is actually, it is helping answer a lot of world building questions. So it's very useful, having a good time, but I need to refocus. I need to do a little bit more walking. I think I have 3/4 of a mile left to walk to hit 2 miles for today. I have to get in the car to go pick up the kids. I walked 3 miles though, feeling really, really good about what I did for the map. It's definitely the kind of thing that I'm glad I'm doing at this stage with a really good idea of the actual story I want to tell, and also pretty solid ideas of the other books in this first series that I want to tell, so that I'm creating the world to facilitate these premises instead of writing myself into corners with a world. So now, instead of just grasping at straws, I can be much more intentional. And if I want to have this book have this premise and this be a possibility, but this not be a possibility, then I need to set that up with the way that the world works. So I'm really excited about that. I got 2 more ideas for premises that I could have for other stories within the world. So I have to jot that down. At this point, I have so much output that is coming from my brain about this world onto the paper that I think pretty soon I'm going to need to take at least a couple hours, if not a day or so, away from the project to get more input and just read and refill my creative well. At the moment, I'm not burned out. I do still have a lot of ideas. It's kind of at the stage where there's so much in my head that I feel I already know or want about the world, that it's just how to organize that information and get it down. And I'm kind of in the thick of that right now. And I recognize that pretty soon I'm going to want to get out of that and fill up creatively again. So, anyways, that's coming up. But later, when we get back from picking up the kids, we need to pick tomatoes, carrots, and potatoes. And we need a pickle jalapeno peppers for dinner tonight. But, anyways, I have to leave. Okay, I'm going to pick up the kids. It's October 8th. It's a rainy, gray day. It's pretty nice fall weather. And I've been working on the map. I'm feeling really good about it. I've been fleshing out some areas and getting an idea of how everything may come together. It's looking really cool. I'm realizing a lot of things that need to get fleshed out. And it doesn't all have to happen right now. And it doesn't even have to all happen in the first book. All of it's kind of helping things click together for how these backstories for these characters would be. I need to switch it up though. I've been doing this for the last hour and a half and I need to make some food. I'm gonna watch something totally different on YouTube or something like that. Disconnect for a little bit so that I can come back and do more. I've also been updating the songs on my playlist for Project Goblin, and it's really helpful. I don't know. I had been having a lot of songs for the female protagonist in particular that were kind of more dewy-eyed, optimistic, idealistic sort of feeling to them. And she's just not that. And so I'm really liking the steeper, calmer, wiser sort of tone that things are coming to, because these characters are not human. They're fantasy races. They're like immortal in the sense of extremely long lives, barring any crazy stuff happening. And they've lived like they've had lives, multiple incarnations of lives. And I want that to show. And I'm having a great time.
So I printed out the latest version of the map and I'm putting how many weeks. I'm working on time and distance to get a better grasp of things. So I'm working on how many, like how long would I want it to take for people to go around the entire primary circuit current thing, which needs a name. So how long do I want that to take? And if it takes that long, then breaking it down, how long do I think it's going to take for travel to happen between these planets? And so I'm breaking it all down. That's really helping. I'm thinking about how long is a year, how many days in a month, that sort of thing, just keeping it very, very simple. So I'm putting all of that into my World Bible that I have on Google Docs using their outline format that they have. Time is its own header and distance is its own header. If you're beginning on a planet from sector 1, then how long does it take to get to this planet or this planet or this planet? And I'm going to do that for all of them because there's a lot of travel and I'm going to want these quick links. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's a good time. I think I'll probably pause in a few minutes and get some coffee and then come back. I need to start walking. I haven't walked at all today, and it wasn't on purpose, just kind of the way it happened. But I do really want to walk. It's 1 o'clock, so I need to leave in about an hour or so to go wait in the pickup line to get the kids. This is another busy day because shortly after we get back from picking up the kids, it's going to be time to go to karate. And it's been working out really well for me to do my food order stuff during their karate time, and then we come back and it's like, okay, dinner and then bed and then clean up and then time with my husband. And it was a busy day. It's a good day, but busy. I better go make that coffee.
It's October 9th. It's about 11 o'clock. I just walked 2.5 miles and I did 3 time blocks as I was doing that. What I'm doing right now, I have my map. This is as updated as it has gotten so far. And what I've been working on is updating my World Bible now. I've got all the names for the planets on this Wild West side of the rift. I haven't done anything on the other side of the rift. TBD. But I figured out what I want as far as normal space travel, how long it should take to get from each location to the next. Through doing that, I've come up with a lot of ideas about what I think might have been near history for certain planets and any resources that might be nearby. And I've been giving a lot of thought to what sort of jobs, what would life look like? What kind of customs would there be? And it's all extremely fun. I guess I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but I am getting into the specifics of it, and it's really a lot of fun. And it is helping so much to figure out what would life have looked like for my main characters of this first book, more about the background of the other people in the crew, and a lot of things that would have helped to shape them into the people that I want them to be for their books. And it's also giving a better idea of how old my main characters are because they're immortal. And I was very vaguely thinking just like, I don't know, like maybe a couple 100 years old. And then it was like, okay, but how long have they been on this side of the rift? And how much older is the male lead from the female lead? Are they actually pretty much the same age or not? And I'm getting closer. I've figured out that they're definitely not both a couple 100 years old. And that's really helpful to be like, okay, how long were they actually alive for? How many of the years that they've been alive were they in their home world? And have they been on this other side of the rift for longer than that or not? So that's really helpful. I'm taking a break. I'm going to get some food and do some cleaning downstairs. Unfortunately, it's just a mess. The week is so busy, just typically, and there's just not extra time to clean more stuff. And I'm prioritizing my writing so that most of the time the kids are in school, I'm actually working on writing stuff. And I love that. That's so great. But it does mean that, yeah, it's just like messy. Because also, what's going on right now is we're at the tail end of the growing season, and I have things outside that I need to pick that are dependent on like how long can I leave them to grow before it's too cold at night and I need to actually just pick them or I'll lose them. And it's tonight. Tonight. So we've had a couple close calls when the first frost will be this week, but tonight is forecasted to be 29. Freezing is 33 degrees. So definitely I got to pick all the rest of the tomatoes outside, and I need to find my staple gun because the greenhouse doesn't have plastic on the door. 3/4 of it is good, but we need the plastic on the door. I have the plastic. Where's my staple gun? I've looked over the house 3 times. I've looked outside, like in case I just forgot it outside someday. I haven't found it. I'm going a little bit bananas. I need to keep looking. I've already looked for 30 minutes today and multiple other times this week for 30 minutes, and it's somewhere. It's somewhere. I'm glad that I got some bean harvest. That was really nice. You guys saw that. I have a feeling they're not going to make it. I'm going to try and cover them with plastic tonight, but I don't think even plastic's going to save beans if it's 27 outside. So I'm having a great time. I am looking forward to the weekend and pausing on this. I'm really enjoying how I've been able to spend so long thinking about these very particular things, but it will be really nice to step back and get a break and probably read a book or two over the weekend. So here's our sunroom, our terrible sunroom where everything goes that has no home. And imagine, I've looked through here twice, but guess what I just found? Can you see it? No. How about now? It's this. The stapler's in here. What the me from 4 months ago? Very disappointed. Put it where it belongs. Oh my god. It's about 1:30 right now. I feel a lot better than I did this morning. I was getting pretty stressed out, not knowing where the staple gun was, all these tomatoes to pick, and I didn't want to do that stuff during my writing time, so it's like a time crunch when we get home because we had to pick up our food order too after getting the kids. Just like, oh my god, am I gonna lose all these tomatoes because of the cold? And I did use my writing time to do all that stuff. So, anyways, I am feeling better. I'm glad that I did it. My brain space was just being taken up by stress. I think I'm reaching the point where I need to step away from doing writing stuff and get some creative well filling done. I did 4.5 time blocks so far today, and it's almost 2 o'clock, which is when I need to switch over and start getting ready to go get in the car to wait for the kids. I'm kind of reaching a wall at this point, which is fine. I had planned for the week to try to do 6 time blocks for each of the 5 work days of the week. So that would be 30 time blocks total. And I've actually, at this point, halfway through Thursday, done 28.5 time blocks. So I'm basically at what I was going to be at for the week anyways. So I may just take tomorrow off and do some reading. It's a half day for school stuff. So it could just be a nice day to go do a fall time thing with the kids, like go to a playground. But what I just stepped away from was working through the initial list of very common jobs that I think would be in this world. There are planets, and there are the usual jobs you would find on a planet, which I don't need to write down. But it is such a spacefaring world as a huge part of the culture. The books in this first series are following a crew who is spacefaring and has been for a while together. So it has been really helpful to be like, what does it mean to have a spacefaring culture? What are typical jobs that are space related? And what of those have the characters had experience with? What are they themselves? And all this stuff. So it actually is very helpful. But I'm done. I got to do something else. So I think what I am going to do is listen to probably some sort of Celtic mythology while stapling the plastic up onto the greenhouse door, and then I'll just get in the car. So let's go do that.
October? I don't know. But anyways, it's Friday. It's a half day. I just dropped off the kids, which means in an hour and a half I need to go back and wait for an hour to pick them up. We're gonna make some tea. I did take the rest of yesterday off as far as creative endeavors, and I did a bunch of, weatherproofing stuff, which was great. It looks like it's paying off. I'm not gonna open the greenhouse yet because it's still quite cold, so I'm gonna wait till it's sunny and warmer in there. But the tomatoes look like they've survived, even if they're not totally happy, which is great because we've got another week before we have another night that dips into 30s. So I might get a little more tomatoes, which is what I was hoping for when I planted them in the greenhouse to begin with. And we'll chat upstairs about plans for what we can accomplish in an hour and a half or so.
I came upstairs and I sat down and I was just editing this vlog and it was fun. But it's almost 10 o'clock. I have to leave really soon. So we're going to do some walking. Yesterday or the day before, I took a voice memo as I was walking, just kind of spouting off different possible jobs. So I've listened to the first couple minutes. It's like a 12-minute voice memo. I listened to the first couple minutes yesterday as I was working on what jobs are there. So we're going to listen to the rest of it as we walk and just kind of flesh things out. I wrote down some goals for today when I was planning the morning. Would like to reach 30 jobs and or run out of jobs that I want to have listed. I would also like to come up with a few possibilities of how the crew met each other. I have some vague ideas, but I think knowing the jobs and the geography now are going to make that a lot easier. And there's a cultural element that is going to play into it that I think is going to be really fun that I had no concept for before the last couple days. I also want to come up with 3 possible reasons they stopped at the planet they're on at the beginning of the story, because there's a reason why why the female protagonist has been avoiding on purpose that planet ever since she's been on this rift side. So why are they there now? I'd like to figure out how many years they've been together as a crew, and I would like to figure out a rough age estimate of each person in the crew. I think that's going to play hugely into the dynamics, and that will just be helpful for their own stories. And I'd also like 3 to 5 possible things that one of the members of the crew is doing while they're there, because it's that person who's the main reason why they actually stopped at this planet. I have ideas, but I don't know specifically, and I think it'll be easier now that I've fleshed out the world more. So those are what I would hope to accomplish all of that today. I don't know if it's gonna happen. We'll find out together, I guess. But let's start walking. Okay, I have to stop. But I walked for about a mile. We did about 25 minutes of work, one time block. And I was listening to that voice memo. We've got 35 jobs, and I think there's another 6 minutes of my voice memo to listen to. So we'll do more of that later. Let's go pick up these kids.
I'm trying to think how old these characters are and how long they've been in the rift and how long they lived in their own worlds. And there's a lot of factors because we can't just think about these 2 main characters. There are people from their backstories that we need to know how long they've been away from those people and how old those people are, and it all feeds into each other because some of some of the events of the other book premises I have in this world will be greatly affected by whatever I decide here. How long is too long for an immortal to have been essentially in prison? That asking for I think I need to just make a spreadsheet of like, if I choose this age for this person, then what does that mean in terms of what the other ages of people need to be and how long has gone by, and just make a bunch of different possibilities.
Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that. These are the major characters that it all really comes down to. The pink stuff, I think that'll just like make sense and is cool. We'll see. We're back. We did lunch. The kids are doing their hour of screen time, and then we're going to get outside. We're going to go to a playground or something. There's a particular one my daughter would really like to go to, so we'll go do that. I'm going to do another mile of walking, and I want to nail down these ages. So we're going to make an actual spreadsheet on the computer and add in a couple factors and see if we're still liking what I came up with in the car. I'm hoping that that sort of naturally feeds into giving more enlightenment on how the crew members met each other and when. It does seem like it's all going to tie in together. So we're cooling it with the jobs, feeling pretty good about what we have so far, and we're switching gears. And the oregano update, I did pick oregano before the frost killed everything. So that's great. I'm in the process of washing a ton of oregano. I walked 2.25 miles and I'm feeling pretty good about what I came up with for ages for some of the people in the first book. I didn't get into the crew. I was just making sure that the main characters' ages fit with the people from their backstories. I'll revisit it after I spend some time thinking about what is dragon culture and fae culture, what are they actually like. But I'm feeling good for now. I do need to take a break. I want to flesh out more about how old the crew members are and how they interact because I think it'll come together quickly. But I also am just like at a wall right now, so that's fine. We'll just do that later. I do love how basically everything I've been doing for the last like 3 days, I thought could be encompassed by sketch the Wild West Side, the politics, the warlords, and the history. 6 time blocks. And that's just not really true. There's no way to know. It's just about 5 o'clock. I didn't do anything else today as far as writing, so we're wrapping it up. But I think that was a week of pretty solid world building. I love the map so far. I figured out a lot of stuff. I have some other good threads to pull to figure everything out. I don't know what the sun is doing. The kids and my husband are getting ready and we're gonna go for a family walk before dinner and then hopefully fall time movie and hot chocolate. I hope your writing's going well. I hope life's going well. I hope you're enjoying the fall and it's treating you great, and I'll see you in the next one.